close your eyes. Go back. Not to a specific year, not to a specific place, just to a feeling. The feeling of a Saturday morning that had nowhere to be. The sound of a lawnmower 2 houses down. The smell of someone's breakfast drifting through a screen door. Kids on bikes at the end of the street. Nobody called them. Nobody organized them. They just appeared. And the day stretched out in front of you like something infinite. Like it would never end. Like that would never end. There is a version of the world that existed, not so long ago, that most of us who lived in it never thought to describe. Because you don't describe the air you breathe. You don't document the ordinary. You just live in it. And then one day, gradually, quietly, without any single moment you could point to, it changes. And you find yourself trying to remember exactly what it felt like, reaching for it, finding pieces of it in old photographs and home videos, and the particular smell of cut grass on a warm evening. This is what I want to talk about today. Not history, not statistics, not politics, just life, the way it actually was, in a neighborhood, in the 1970s and 80s, before everything got complicated, before everything got loud. Because here is the honest truth. The neighborhood we grew up in wasn't just a place where houses happened to be near each other. It was a living thing. It had a pulse, a rhythm, a personality. It knew you were there. And the loss of that, the quiet, gradual disappearance of that feeling, is something most of us have never sat down and properly named. Until now. Step outside on any given afternoon in 1985 and something was always happening. Not something dramatic, not something worth filming, just life. Ordinary, unremarkable, beautiful life. A father with the hood of his car up, radio on inside the garage, a coffee going cold on the workbench. A woman kneeling in her garden, gloves on, completely absorbed in something the rest of the world couldn't touch. A group of children, ranging in age from 6 to 13, moving in a loose, leaderless pack with no destination and no schedule and no adult directing them. 2 older men standing at the edge of a driveway having a conversation that had probably been going on in some form for 15 years. The street wasn't a corridor. It wasn't just the space between your front door and your car. It was a place. A gathering place, an unannounced, unofficial, everyday gathering place. And here is what made that possible. Nobody was inside yet. Think about what came next. Cable television expanded, video games got serious, the internet arrived, and then the smartphone came. And the internet became something personal, something you carried everywhere, something that went with you into every room of the house. Every single one of those things brought something good, but every single one of them also did the same quiet thing. They pulled people inside, and when people went inside, the street went silent, and it never, not really, came back. Let me tell you something about the neighbors in a 1985 neighborhood. You knew people you didn't even particularly like. And I say that, not as a criticism, but as a description of something that has quietly vanished from modern life. There was always someone on the block who complained too much about the noise, about where you parked, about the state of your lawn. He was difficult. Everyone knew he was difficult, but everyone also knew his name, his wife's name, which car was his. And when something happened to him, when he got sick one winter, when there was a loss in his family, people showed up. Not because they were close, not because they particularly wanted to, but because that was simply what neighbors did. There was the old couple at the end of the street who had lived in their house since before most people on the block were born, who remembered what the neighborhood looked like when the trees were still small, who were, without anyone ever appointing them, the living memory of the place. There was the family everyone was a little curious about, the ones who kept to themselves, who you didn't know well, but you waved, you nodded. There was always an acknowledgement. We share this street. We are part of the same small thing, That acknowledgement, that simple, wordless agreement, was the foundation of something larger than any of us realized today. And I say this not with judgment, but with genuine sadness. Many people do not know their neighbor's name, not because they are cold, not because they are unfriendly, but because the systems, the physical and social systems that used to make contact unavoidable, have been removed one by one. So quietly, we never noticed them leaving. One of the things I miss most, and this took me years to put into words, is the rhythm. The week had a shape back then. Monday through Friday, the neighborhood moved on a schedule you could feel. Cars backing out at the same time every morning. The school bus arriving at the same corner. The same woman walking her dog at the same hour every evening like clockwork. Saturday was when the neighborhood fully woke up. Lawnmowers before 9, kids outside before their parents were dressed, someone washing their car in the driveway, the smell of a grill by early afternoon, even when it wasn't quite warm enough for it, hardware store runs, screen doors banging all day long, and Sunday. Sunday had a quiet that was completely its own, slower, softer. More cars and driveways, the smell of something cooking low and long coming from kitchen windows, a kind of collective exhale before the week began again. Nobody organized these rhythms. Nobody announced them. They emerged naturally, organically, from the simple fact that most families were living similar versions of the same life, working the same hours, shopping at the same stores, resting on the same day. The rhythm was a shared heartbeat, and when the rhythm disappeared, when work hours scattered and stores opened every hour of every day and entertainment became available at 3 in the morning exactly as it was at 3 in the afternoon, the heartbeat stopped, and the neighborhood, without its shared pulse, became a collection of separate lives that happened to be near each other. And then there were the children. In a 1985 neighborhood, children owned the outside world, not in an organized way, not in a scheduled, supervised, permission slip way. They owned it the way children are supposed to own it, completely, messily, gloriously. There were kids on every block, moving in loose groups, ranging in age from 5 to 13, with no destination and no adult directing them. They built things that should not have been built. Ramps for bicycles that no sensible person would have gone off. Forts in empty lots that somehow held together through entire summers. Dams and drainage ditches that actually worked for about 40 minutes before collapsing dramatically. They had real conflicts. Somebody took somebody's bike. Somebody got excluded and was furious about it. There were arguments, real ones, and they resolved them the way children have always resolved things when there is no adult to appeal to. Imperfectly, messily, but themselves. They got hurt. Real minor hurt. The kind that stings and frightens you for a moment and then becomes a story you tell for years. Every single one of those experiences was doing something essential. It was teaching them the world, the actual world, the physical, unpredictable, social world that no classroom and no screen can fully replicate today. And no individual parent is to blame for this, because this is a change in the entire culture. Children largely don't have that anymore. The neighborhood as a children's territory, as a place they could roam and claim and make their own, has quietly, almost completely, disappeared. And the children who grew up in it, we didn't know what we had until we looked outside one day and the street was empty. So what did we actually lose? Because I want to be careful here. Honest. 1985 was not a perfect world. There were real problems, things about that era that genuinely needed to change. And the people living in neighborhoods today are not doing anything wrong. They are living completely reasonable, modern lives. But here is what I believe we lost, and I want to try to name it precisely. We lost incidental community, community that happened by accident, by proximity, by shared rhythm, by the simple unavoidability of daily contact with the people who live near you. The kind of community you didn't have to build because it was already there. built into the physical architecture of daily life, built into the shared schedule of the week, built into the fact that you and your neighbors were all outside at the same time, not because you planned it, but because that's just where life happened. Going to the market and seeing 3 people from your street, stopping to talk, not because you arranged it, but because you were all just there, sitting on your steps in the evening and having a 15-minute conversation with whoever walked past, a conversation that went nowhere and meant nothing, and yet somehow added something to the day, knowing, without having to think about it, that if something happened, if you needed help, if something broke or someone got hurt or the power went out, there was a whole web of people within walking distance, not close friends necessarily, not people you would choose from a wide world, just neighbors, people who knew your face, your car, the sound of your door, people who were there. We replaced that with something, with convenience, with connection we could choose, friends across distances, communities online, entertainment on demand. Those are real things, real gains. But the loss is real too. And I think we've been slow to name it, because naming it feels like saying we chose wrong, like we should have done something differently. We didn't choose wrong. We just followed the logic of each moment, each new technology, each convenience, each reasonable preference for privacy and comfort, and arrived somewhere that none of us entirely planned. The neighborhood didn't disappear because anyone wanted it to. It disappeared in the space between 1,000 small decisions that each seemed perfectly fine. Let me tell you what I think people are really reaching for when they watch old home videos, when they drive slowly through their childhood neighborhood, when a particular song or a particular smell takes them somewhere they haven't been in decades. They are not reaching for the cars, or the fashion, or even their own youth, though that is part of it. They are reaching for the feeling of being held by a place, of living somewhere that knew you were there, where your presence registered, where the simple act of stepping outside put you in contact with a world that was shared. We are more connected today than at any point in human history, and lonelier than we have been in generations. And I don't think that is a coincidence. I think it is 2 sides of the same shift. We traded the connection we couldn't control for the connection we could choose, and we gained something real in that trade. But we gave up something real too, something that never had a name, something that felt on a Saturday morning in 1985, like a lawnmower 2 houses down, and kids at the end of the street, and a screen door somewhere banging in the breeze, and the simple, quiet, unremarkable feeling that you were not alone. This is Front Porch Stories. Before the world got loud, we lived something worth remembering. I'll see you on the porch.